Rangers have entered another significant moment of transition after parting ways with key figures behind the scenes, prompting fresh debate about the financial impact of the decision. The changes come at a time when the club is already recalibrating its direction, and the numbers involved in drawing a line under this chapter are now coming into focus. With supporters eager to understand the scale of the fallout and what it means for the months ahead, attention has quickly turned to the costs attached to the departures. Let's break this down in today's video, along with all the other Rangers news from the last 24 hours. There is so much to discuss in today's video, so be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel for daily Rangers content. Rangers' decision to remove Kevin Thelwell and Patrick Stewart from their posts marked one of the most dramatic shifts at the club in recent years, bringing an abrupt close to a turbulent chapter that had overshadowed the early part of the campaign. The announcement on Monday confirmed what had been brewing behind the scenes for weeks, a culmination of poor performances, disjointed planning, and growing unrest around the direction of the club. The season's opening stretch had already claimed a major casualty in Russell Martin, whose stint in charge barely lasted weeks. Danny Roll's arrival steadied the pitchside operations with a far more cohesive run of form in the Premiership, but even that stabilisation could not shield the club's hierarchy from scrutiny. The weight of frustration continued to build, and supporters made it clear that patience had evaporated after what was heralded as one of the most expensive and ambitious summer windows Ibrox had seen. According to individuals familiar with the financial considerations surrounding these decisions, senior figures within the ownership group were far from satisfied with the trajectory. Andrew Kavanagh, one of the key voices in the new hierarchy, did not shy away from acknowledging the need for sweeping change. Rangers need to go in a different direction with changes ahead, he said after the departures were confirmed, a statement that reflected both urgency and dissatisfaction. Those close to the situation have also indicated that the double exit will come with a significant financial hit, with the combined payoff expected to run into the millions due to the short duration of both men's time at the club. It represents another costly line in the ledger of a season already riddled with missteps. Thelwell's move from Everton in the summer had been seen as a major structural addition, yet his tenure unravelled almost instantly. Decisions such as sanctioning a deal for Youssef Shamiti, costing upwards of £8 million, left many baffled and set an early tone of mistrust. Stewart, while more experienced within the wider Rangers environment, had long struggled to win over a demanding support that expected clarity and conviction in leadership. Responsibility has now shifted temporarily into the hands of Fraser Thornton, who has stepped forward as acting CEO. Already a director with recent stints of heightened responsibility, Thornton previously served as chairman following John Bennett's departure before stepping aside under the new ownership. His return to the forefront reflects both necessity and continuity during a period of considerable restructuring. With Kavanagh and Parag Marath satisfied with the work Roll is doing on the touchline, attention has turned to finding the next permanent leaders of the club's football and executive operations. The search is expected to bring high-profile names into consideration as the Americans look to impose a more coherent, long-term strategy in the boardroom. Whoever ultimately takes on those roles will inherit a demanding environment, but also a clean slate, a chance to restore confidence after a period where misjudgments became routine. The departures of Stewart and Thelwell draw a definitive line under a troubled era, though the cost of correcting the course will linger long in the memory at Ibrox. In other news, Barry Ferguson has revealed differences of opinion between himself and Kevin Thelwell while he was in temporary charge of Rangers, especially when it came to recruitment. Thelwell came in as the club's sporting director in the midst of Ferguson's interim spell in charge of the team, and the latter wanted to stay on full-time and was involved in discussions about the direction of the club going forward. He has since told of a Scottish core of signings he wanted the club to make, including Lawrence Shankland, who stayed at Hearts, and Josh Mulligan, who ended up moving from Dundee to Hibs. And the former club captain has admitted recruitment was one of the main areas he and the sacked sporting director disagreed on. Addressing the shock departure of Thelwell and ex-chief executive Patrick Stewart, Ferguson said "I actually had a good relationship with Patrick during our time together, and I can't say otherwise. If I needed anything, he was on the end of the phone, or I could chap on his office door. The rest of the time, he left me to get on with it, and I like to work like that." Kevin was different. I only had a meeting or two with him during those 3 months before. Ultimately, he interviewed me for the job on a full-time basis. I never spent much time with him, so it's hard for me to say what type of person he was or what he was like to work with. But yes, it's fair to say we had different ideas, especially when it came to recruitment. That's fine. Everybody has their own ways of working. Certain people are always going to disagree with those methods. If Ferguson had different ideas to Thelwell on recruitment, he is the one who looks vindicated after a poor summer window. Josef Chermiti, the £8 million striker, hasn't impressed, and neither have the vast majority of the signings. It was the main reason fans turned against the Englishman, and likely a factor in Andrew Kavanagh getting rid, even though he has kept his counsel on that. Ferguson went on. The biggest issue Kevin had in the end was that the recruitment hasn't looked like value for money. He brought in 14 new players with a net spend of £20 million, and the general consensus is the team has gone back the way. That's hardly ideal. There is still time for some of these new players to kickstart their careers. Danny Roll has introduced a traffic light system to assess them. There's a couple of green lights along with 1 or 2 reds, but I think the majority are still on amber. That means there is time for them to come good. Kevin's problem was that not enough of the players he signed have succeeded in hitting the ground running, and ultimately he's paid the price for that. The spotlight was always likely to fall on his head. Personally, I did think money would have been better spent on other targets, but like I say, Kevin had his own idea, and football was all about opinions. I felt Rangers had to go in a certain direction. Not everyone shared my opinion. That's fine too. It was their job to make those decisions, even though I didn't always agree with them. That's life. But when you make signings and oversee a full reboot of the squad, you also have to take accountability for those decisions. But that is all for today's video. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please make sure you hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. We post all the latest Rangers news every single day, so join our fast growing community so you never miss out. Thank you. I'll see you in the next video.